Well, hello and welcome to today's webcast. Intelligent Automation is Changing the Way Insurers Do Business, sponsored by Oz Digital Consulting and hosted by Insurance Innovation Reporter. I'm Anthony O'Donnell, Executive Editor of Insurance Innovation Reporter, and it's my pleasure to be your moderator today. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day to join us. We hope we've got a lot of really excellent content for you to get up to speed on this topic. I'd like to take a moment to review how the event will proceed today. Bear with me. So after introductions and a few words from me about the topic, our three speakers will give a fairly brief presentation in succession. And then following those presentations, we'll have an open discussion on the topic with our three speakers. We've reserved some time at the end for an audience Q&A, but we would be lively and interactive as possible. So we invite you to ask us questions at any time, and we'll do our best to take those. To ask a questions, you'll see a Q&A tab on the control panel. So that'll bring up a dialog box, and you can just type in your question there. Again, we'll do our best to address your questions as they come in, if it makes sense with the flow of the discussion. And we'll take a little time at the end to answer them if we haven't already. You'll see this slide again at that point in our event. And now I'd like to introduce our panel. We have actually a very authoritative panel today, beginning with Keith Raymond, a senior analyst in Celent's North America insurance practice. Keith's expertise ranges from business transformation, back office operations, and mergers and acquisitions to process improvement for both property casualty and life, health, and annuities industries. Before he joined Celent, Keith founded K-Ray Consulting, which provides insurance operations and technology services. He has served as a vice president of research and consulting at Novarica, and he has held multiple senior technology and business roles at insurance carriers, including the Hartford, MassMutual, and Futurity First Insurance Group, as well as senior positions at vendors such as Trumbull Services and HCL Technologies. Our second panelist is Nicole Myers, Senior Vice President of Underwriting Propositions at Swiss Re. Nicole's expertise could not be more relevant to our topic today. We're super happy to have her with us. She works with insurance carriers to craft custom solutions through underwriting technology, data optimization, and process improvements. Prior to her current role at Swiss Re, Nicole worked with MIB to launch the company's electronic health record initiative in the US market. And as her experience suggests, her background is in life underwriting, and she is currently enrolled in a master's program for behavioral economics. Our final panelist today also has a wealth of experience on the topic. It's Peter Albano, who is head of insurance data analytics at Oz Digital Consulting. In his current role, Peter communicates with clients to reconcile and analyze their reinsurance data as it is automated and transferred from their legacy systems to a new intelligently automated system. Peter's professional background is in financial risk, brokering client financial services, ceded reinsurance, and primary insurance with an emphasis on personal and commercial lines. His financial background provides him with the expertise necessary to guide insurance clients seeking to build and implement analytics dashboards that guide strategic business decisions based on their data. Before joining the Oz Digital Consulting team, Peter worked as a senior reinsurance analyst at CNA Insurance. He has also held senior roles at Guy Carpenter and PEMCO. All right, now I'd like to say a word about our topic. The title of this discussion, Intelligent Automation is Changing the Way Insurers Do Business, I think begs a question of what exactly is intelligent automation. And we'll spend a significant part of our discussion today answering that question and elaborating on why that will change how insurers do business. But a short answer might be that intelligent automation can be seen as the next generation of process automation, and as such, the successor of robotic process automation, or RPA. RPA has become widely used in the insurance industry over the last decade or so and has delivered a great deal of value. It's done so because it addresses one of the chief challenges of insurance technology, which is bridging gaps in processing and automating their completion. Because such discontinuities typically exist all along the insurance value chain, RPA has very wide application. Among its broad benefits are speeding the completion of otherwise slow and costly processes, such as claims, And by doing so, it significantly reduces cost and has the potential for greatly improving customer and agent satisfaction. It also has the potential to improve data accuracy and eliminate human error from processes while it speeds them up. One of its greatest benefits to insurers has been to extend the life of legacy systems, which amounts to extending the value of insurers' greatest capital investments in technology. Another increasingly important benefit is that it lets machines do what they do best and lets insurance professionals focus on higher value and more satisfying tasks. Intelligent automation takes all the benefits of RPA and takes them to a higher level. As the term implies, intelligent automation adds artificial intelligence to RPA, enabling not just simply bridging of discontinuities, but also the capacity to interpret and solve problems. And it learns about which ones to expect and solve them as it goes. However, the concept of intelligent automation goes beyond the simple addition of AI and machine learning to include integration with a variety of other technologies, including advanced analytics and digital solutions, to enable not only next level automation, but also the more visible and flexible management of mission critical processes, enabling not just efficiency, but efficacy and excellence in customers, distribution partners, and internal associates experience. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Keith Raymond. I think you need to come off mute, Keith.
Excellent suggestion. Hi, hi everybody. This is Keith Raymond from Celent. So I'm imagining most of you already know in the insurance industry where profit margins are very widely based on catastrophes on the property casualty side and usually razor thin on the life side. Improving operational efficiency, even by the smallest of increments, can have a highly beneficial impact. Fueled by digital acceleration, many insurers are turning to intelligent automation to optimize and digitize sorry.
Would you like next slide?
Nope. Operations. However, insurers are continually challenged with identifying new ways to invest in automation and to improve operations with a high return values such as customer experience with the ultimate goal of improving profitability. You can hit the next slide now, Anthony. Over the years, many investments have been made in technologies to improve operational efficiency through automation. Take robotic process automation as an example. I did a study earlier in the year on both a life insurance and property casualty insurance side. And as indicated in this graphic, over 75% of the participating insurers already invested in RPA in their companies. However, we also learned from the research conducted for those reports that the majority of insurers who currently use RPA haven't integrated it with cognitive technologies. So the natural evolution for RPA is to combine it with some of the artificial intelligence, such as machine learning, natural language processing, and/or computer vision to accelerate the digital agenda. This combination brings a whole new range of options for digitizing insurance business processes. And additionally, and independent of RPA, intelligent automation is transforming processes across the insurance landscape. So unless you've been in a cave for the last 18 months or so, you know the focus is on digital investments for most, if not all, insurers, and has drastically accelerated since obviously since the second quarter of last year, and is a direct outcome of the pandemic. The digital innovation and investments are being made throughout the insurance ecosystem now. The initial focus was on supporting virtualized consumer and agents for insurers, and it has continued to evolve in other areas rapidly ever since. Can you hit the next slide, please, Anthony? This is just an indication of the benefits that have been realized from the application of RPA. And now some of these are also blended with artificial intelligence as well, i.e. intelligent automation. But pretty consistent. We actually polled insurers, and in a separate report, I actually polled the platform providers and solution providers in this space. And you could see very consistent as far as where the gains are being realized. Increased operational efficiency, cost reduction, enhanced employee experience were the top three for both of the respondents in those reports. Next slide, please, Anthony. One of the other interesting things before getting to this slide, just to note, one of the other interesting things in one of the reports we did on the effect on sales and distribution is over 80% of the survey respondents were investing in automation of the virtualized sales force in 2021. New digital sales and marketing tools, along with new communication collaboration tools, were at the investment forefront. As digital acceleration progresses, key operational areas such as customer service, underwriting, policy administration, and claims have been the targets on the automation radar. It's not that they weren't already areas of focus, but virtualization forced acceleration of the attention on automation for the new business model. And one interesting quote I'll share from one of the insurers that we spoke of with the big transition in focus to digital agenda. They said, "I have seen more done in the last 3 months than I think we would have done in 3 years. The pandemic greatly accelerated our digital roadmap." Next, so on this slide, excuse me, no, sorry, Anthony, stay on that one for a minute. Thank you very much. So in this one, it's really an indication now, although this is the focus of RPA, it transcends to really any of the advanced technologies of today. I'm not going to call RPA advanced necessarily, but when you combine this with artificial intelligence and stuff, there is a bit of a experience crisis, if you will, when carriers are trying to get all of the expertise that they need in order to accomplish the goals of the automation agenda. And so this is just indicative of what we've heard from both the life and the property casualty insurers. Do they have the talent in place to get what they need done? 66% said yes, but, and 34% said no. So how do they solve for this? And some indicated that although they're comfortable with the resource level, talented developers are difficult to attract and retain. 1/3 of participants actually noted they have a third-party relationship as their primary source for RPA, right? And so, and those relationships become more and more important as insurers look to turn to intelligent automation in this space. All right, next slide, please. The top 3 areas of growth are indicated here. And what we've heard is, not uncommon from what you probably heard in the past as well, but the enhanced customer experience, which was had been number, I think, 3 on our survey earlier this year, has just been jumped to the top. So everybody's looking at how do I improve the customer engagement, customer experience part of the business. And so it makes sense for this to be in the top from a future point perspective. And then, the tsunami of digital acceleration on the insurer's technology agenda has been unprecedented. It spurred more drive for automation in the insurance than probably any event I can think of. It's created a unique opportunity for insurers to digitize the way they do business. Many insurers with whom we have spoken are elated with the focus on digital automation and the shift of capital budgets to back it up, right? And a couple key areas such as claims and underwriting really been the focus on optimization, especially over the last year. Solution providers and insurtechs even aligned to these categories provide technologies and services to make the insurance industry's processes more efficient and customer friendly. You can go to the next slide, please. And so when we talk about intelligent automation, I put this together. It's really, here's what I think of the construct of the intelligent automation, right? It's a blend of everything you see in this graphic, right? So, what is it? Intelligent automation can be described as the combination of robotic process automation and artificial intelligence to automate the processes, right? Components of AI are used to deliver intelligent automation, such as optical character recognition, natural language processing, and machine learning. OCR is built to classify and extract and validate documents and is used to take hard copies and convert to unstructured data within them into an electronic version without human intervention. Natural language processing is paramount in dealing with unstructured data and text information. It goes beyond lexicon-based analysis and can identify context and text images and other unstructured data sets. And then you have machine learning, which is a subset of AI, and that provides systems with the ability to automatically learn and improve from experience without being specifically programmed by a human. And the last slide, and I'm going to hand it off to Nicole after this, but really a lead in for how Nicole and the business she's in really sees the use of this. Here are some examples on where OCR, machine learning, and natural language processing, all inclusive of artificial intelligence, have found opportunity within the insurance world. And I'll pass it off to Nicole.
Yeah, thank you so much, Keith. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And I have to tell you this, thinking about this webinar, preparing for this webinar has been a lot of fun. I remember a number of years ago, one of my coworkers saying, hey, we have this robotics team at Swiss Re and they're going to do a demo downstairs. Do you want to go see the robot? Right. And, the language, the word around it, it conjures up, cute little robots, right? We think about this physical space, but when we're talking about RPA, right, we're talking about this fully digital experience. And we're really talking about technology that has done a tremendous amount, right, for our industries and will continue to do so. I think the adoption rate for companies, Fortune 500 companies, right, it's nearing like 90%, right? There's such a broad applicability for RPA just in its basic form. And we're here to talk about that next level of this, but in its basic form, taking these tasks, right, off of humans that they really didn't want to do anyway. And that actually increases employee satisfaction. That actually, does touch, and I'm sure we'll touch on all of this today, but, compliance and governance and all of these things, it's more than just, savings around full-time employees, FTEs or headcounts. It's just the benefits are so widespread. So we think about, RPA, what it can do for us, and we start to layer on these other pieces, and you can go to the next slide. We start to layer on these other pieces, and it's really incredible what we can actually achieve, right? So, Keith, you gave a great lead up for those different, under the umbrella of artificial intelligence, the different pieces that can be pulled in here with the RPA, the integration into existing digital solutions, as well as maximizing utility on these enterprise systems that are vexing all of us, right? These legacy systems that have been around for a very long time. It's really incredible being able to see this next level happen. And I think a lot of the value is that you've got that initial implementation, right? You've taken those tasks and you've been able to automate them, right? You've got your bot logging in, doing its thing. But when you start to layer in a machine learning model, you can actually deploy earlier, right? You can deploy with less confidence, knowing that with the right audits and controls in place, that ability, that machine learning ability, the human loop that you can create there to train that machine is actually going to increase, right? You're going to be improving your experience over time. It's going to get more accurate. It's going to get better. And there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in creating that feedback loop with the addition of the machine learning. You touched on the OCR and the NLP, right? We think about the ability to not just push the widgets around, have the robot push the widgets around, but actually be able to extract information and decision, right? To start to actually make decisions and feed those into, powerful analytics, again, furthering that feedback loop between us and these processes. So this is a really exciting leap forward. These technologies coming together, and this is the world, right? This is the future that we're living in. I think also about kind of the heaviness of the traditional process automation, right? Going into a system and kind of, working with code, whereas you can bring RPA in a much lighter fashion, right? There's always going to be a place for the more traditional technologies, right? And you might not need a full-blown machine learning model. You might actually need something lighter touch, but knowing that you can actually combine the solutions that you're putting in place with additional kind of part and parcel components, I think sets you up for knowing that you don't ever have to stay stuck and you can continue to advance your processes. And with that,
on to Peter.
Thank you, Nicole. I'd like to thank today's panelists and attendees for participating in today's webinar. We're excited to have Anthony as our moderator and are fortunate to have such talented insurance professionals like Keith and Nicole joining us today. I know it'll be an exciting program. Let me start by providing a quick overview of Oz Digital Consulting. Oz is a digital consulting company, and we've been working with the insurance industry for 20 years now. Our corporate offices are in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We have digital innovation centers in Latin America and Asia with close to 300 consultants across all practices. Today, Keith and Nicole shared the RPA process, robotic processing automation. It's bot technology that solves transactional and administrative tasks that are repetitive, rules-based, and require no decision-making. But we want to bring that one step further, and that's intelligent automation, which incorporates artificial intelligent technologies like machine learning, language processing, structured data interaction, and intelligent document processing. RPA works very well as a standalone, but intelligent automation is the connector. It's the bridge, producing results in a single unified view. It unlocks and leverages data, intelligently analyzing and beginning to learn the process. It's making better use of the data at hand. RPA and intelligent automation are not here to replace people, rather allow them to focus on activities that bring more value to the team. And that's what we do here at Oz. We have various services where we build applications and digital solutions across web and mobile platforms, analytic and data automation and integration. The types of solutions Oz develops ranges from full platforms, analytic portals, and automation projects. Anthony?
All right, great. Well, let's jump into our panel discussion. So to open it up, I'd like to go over the value of RPA and process improvement in general, and then go on to what intelligent automation is and does, kind of as to contrast the two different levels of process automation. So I'd like to start with Keith. Keith, how would you describe the success of RPA in the insurance industry? And then can we consider IA as kind of a major or even an exponential improvement on earlier versions of process automation? You're still muted, Keith.
Yeah, caught it. Given the numbers that we went over earlier in the program here, you can tell that almost 80% of the insurers that we had spoken with have RPA in place. So, and what are they realizing from the standpoint of their gains? I mean, indicated in the charts, a lot of it had to do revolve around customer experience, cost reduction, process optimization, those kinds of things, and they are seeing that. So what does it mean? Well, from the standpoint of other than improving those experiences, reducing the cost and all that kind of stuff, the implications on staff are actually very positive as well. So what you're generally doing with the RPA is you're taking away more of the mundane tasks and pivoting your resources onto something that's higher value for an organization, which is one key element of RPA. Now, take that next step as both Nicole and Peter indicated, and the key is intelligence, right? So processes with intelligent automation can learn and be optimized based on those learnings. This makes intelligent automation a big hammer in the process improvement toolkit for insurers. It amplifies anything realized with RPA and attended bots, or it has the opportunity to anyway if you're willing to make the investments. A business process no longer must be stopped for a human to take over, such as with attended bots. And blended with intelligent automation, a process can make its own decisions based on large volumes of data. And in this turn, it can enhance the customer employee experience. And I do say both, because again, you're not only improving the customer experience, but you are improving that employee experience, because we're really pivoting them into more higher value, skilled opportunity rather than the more mundane stuff that is still very prevalent in the insurance ecosystem, right? And although much has been done over the last few years with RPA and intelligent automation, the insurance process framework is still ripe for opportunity to automate processes. The journey varies widely insurer to insurer and tier to tier, the lower tiers to the upper tiers of insurance. Those that might have a little more capital than others to spend on this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see, but the industry is well positioned to really move forward pretty rapidly with IA.
So Nicole, could you build on Keith's comments and kind of make a contrast between the previous state of process automation as understood as RPA, and then what the just how much of an advance and how different intelligent automation is?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me do it. I'll do it through example. I think that, we can kind of identify, right, with if we can picture the story a bit in our head. I think about working with a carrier who needed to reduce cycle time on an application, right, on their application processing. They wanted to get cases through underwriting faster, right? And they were taking their applications. They had an e-app, right? They had software on the front end that was collecting the application. They were producing a PDF. They were sending it offshore. And then somebody was going to data enter that overnight. And then it went back in. So you were literally taking data, turning it into PDF, sending it to a human to do data entry on that, right? So right there, when we were working with them to say, where do we think we can pick up some speed, right? Here's a great place. So if we think about kind of traditional RPA in this setting, we're moving widgets, right? We can move this to this to this, right? So in that traditional space, what you could create, your bot would be able to take the information from that e-app and actually park it into the underwriting system where it needed to go, so it would generate the case and do the next thing. We think about intelligent automation, that next level. We can now not just move the data into the system to create that case so it can be underwritten. Potentially, we can score that data, the completeness of the app. We can interface in some way with the process so that applications get triaged. We can flag things. We can identify fraud, right? So it's that really taking it from the basics, which is so helpful. I mean, just in that traditional example that I gave you, you're saving a day and a half in your process. It's huge. That's huge, right? That next level, it just, everything starts to get amped up as well. You can really start to pick up even more speed through those little tweaks. And again, the ability to have those processes learn through these machine learning models, right, where they can get better over time. You shift that human resource from doing those mundane tasks that we talk about, right, to doing the really kind of that more meaty stuff, the more engaging stuff. And Keith's absolutely right? Employee satisfaction does go up. We do crave meaningful work as human beings. And when you start to take this type of task off and you start to create that human in the loop, right, with things like RPA and intelligent automation, we're all better for it, employees and customers.
Well said. So Peter, how have you lived both the success of RPA and the emergence of intelligent automation? And what would you say about the potential of IA by way of contrasting it with the earlier iterations of RPA?
Sure, I think what Nicole said is true. It's IA is the next big leap. It's the next big jump. And so when we look at emerging technologies in the insurance industry in IA, there was a 2-year run of a program by AXA Insurance called Fizzy, and it was a blockchain platform of flight delay insurance, all purchased on an app, all through smart contracts. And it was all connected to the global flight patterns of airlines. And if your plane was 2 hours late, you were automatically paid. There was no, you had to submit no claim. There was nothing. All of that was just done through intelligent automation. And that is the big leap ahead, but that's actually here today. Now, AXA did close it down after 2 years, but they've learned a lot from that. And there's a lot of the next insurance on demand is where IA is going to unlock a lot of premium that the market is definitely going to be going after.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the parametric insurance example is a really good one because I mean, that's really fully automated insurance to the extent where you don't even have to file a claim, right? But I think, to build on what Nicole said, you could go from the extreme of parametric insurance to classical versions of insurance where there is human intervention when you need human intervention, but you get a higher quality of human intervention, certainly greater engagement for the employees as well as the customers. If you're delegating the right things to the machine, the right things to the person.
That's correct. Yes.
Well, Nicole, let's go back to you to discuss some of the opportunities that IA offers to the insurance industry, and maybe you can talk about your perspective on emerging use cases for intelligent automation in life underwriting.
Yeah, absolutely. We still are a document-heavy world for underwriting, and I think that one of the really important use cases that we have here is our ability to leverage, OCR, our ability to leverage NLP, and to extract value from both structured and unstructured data and really get it into the process in a way that it hasn't been before. We have very interesting conundrum where we actually have quite a bit of access to data in life insurance underwriting now that we didn't have in the past. It's almost an overwhelming amount of data. And unfortunately, it's a very manual heavy process for underwriters dealing with that. And they're trying to figure out things like, the correlation and there's, duplicate information coming at them that they're working through. So we have these brilliant digital records that are getting sent to us, but it, can be 200 pages, 1,000 pages of information that somebody's actually combing through. These are really where we are laser focused in this particular area, right? How do we take the combination of these technologies in this leap forward, right, with intelligent automation to start to ease the pressure on these particular manual processes in life underwriting. In addition to that, there's the whole ecosystem around, right, the underwriter, all of the processes that are going on around them. And there's still a ton of, administrative work. Well, this is insurance, right? We make sure that we have processes in place. That's what we do. And, any place where we can create data, where there may not be data, right? Or where we can just make that process better through the decision-making abilities with intelligent automation. Those are the areas of opportunity, 100%. But the digital clinical data that we are processing now is far and away going to be a huge area of focus.
Yeah, I mean, life insurance underwriting is one of the most notoriously laborious, time-consuming. I mean, the last time I bought life insurance, it was the fluids, it was a whole thing, right? So it would seem that there's just an enormous opportunity for automating various of these steps, including gathering the necessary data for underwriting, and the end result is what? It's a vastly improved customer experience. It's probably better for the distributors as well.
Yeah, and transparency. The integration of intelligent automation actually does create transparency. You can take that as data and do something with it. It allows you to communicate what's happening in the process. And when you don't have the predictability of a manual process, you don't have the structure around these manual processes, you're not able to communicate, right? So it actually opens up better customer experience, and not just because it's faster, right? But because it's actually creating the ability to communicate through tracking, right?
Yeah, and with the multiplication of manual processes and all the time delays and all that, that's a multiplication of opportunities for error. And as you say, if these things are automated, you have a way of tracking all these steps and making the whole process more transparent and auditable.
Absolutely. Governance and compliance. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, let's turn to you and talk about some of the opportunities in the property casualty industry.
Regarding data gathering or opportunities?
Well, I mean, let's talk about the opportunities in general, and maybe some highlight opportunities. I mean, life underwriting is a very narrow area, but it's certainly a target-rich environment, you might say. In property casualty, where can you automate? Where's some, I don't want to say low-hanging fruit, because they may not be exactly that, but just great opportunity areas, whether in claims, in the new business process, in the renewal process.
Yeah, the overall, I think overall it's the way that we gather and the availability of data sharing today. I mean, the insurance industry is built on data capture, data storage, and data analytics, but the mechanisms around that and accessing that data is very, very different. Data is being captured and recorded at infinite more times today than ever before, and intelligent automation is going to be reducing costs and administration and assisting underwriting claims, fraud detection. We could take underwriting, for example, in the property casualty underwriting arena, typically for a small business, you would ask a set of 25 to 30 questions. A lot of companies and clients today are moving towards intelligent automation to reduce that number of questions down to 7 to 10. And in the future, Evan Greenberg of Chubb says someday he hopes that we only ask 2 questions, your name and address. And that's where we see the market going. It's the reduction of administrative costs that ultimately, and the use of that data that's out there today for better pricing premium and to be more competitive in the marketplace as the demand for a faster turnaround, just in society in general, for anything and everything that we do, is really placing a lot of pressure on the insurance industry.
Yeah, I was thinking about what's the process that matters probably more than any other process in terms of the time spent, and that would be claims, right? And we could take some of Nicole's observations on the transparency and auditability of the process, and the ability to gather data, as you were saying, from multiple sources, and to get everything in place from the standpoint of the responsibility of the insurer and all the insurers, employees and parties, and bring the claim to conclusion faster.
Right, and from let's say digital pictures for a claims process for damage to your vehicle, it's now intelligent automation can now write the estimate on that car and pay that claim. That is available, and that is where the marketplace is going for a lot of carriers that want to remain competitive and client focused.
So Keith, I wondered about one of your slides, and you showed all these, and by the way, you're still muted. You showed all these opportunities for robotic process automation, or where robotic process automation has been applied. And I wondered whether 5 years from now your slide would look very different or would look very similar as intelligent automation becomes more prevalent.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not sure. I think it would actually look dramatically different because once as carriers and data scientists and continue to get their hands dirty in artificial intelligence, the opportunities are endless, right? So if I look at the data, aside from data being used as the genesis of where to invest, at least if you're smart, you're using data, right? It's also the core for applying intelligent automation in the areas of data management and advanced analytics, as an example. Some of the areas I think of, I put it into 4 quadrants. Revenue, cost reduction, risk mitigation, and customer experience, right? At least the quadrants of today. And in the revenue side, using AI and advanced analytics to build advanced propensity models to improve cross-selling and upselling, using partner data if needed, enriching dynamic pricing strategies from customer patterns, So supporting front-end sales employees with new data to increase conversion rates, those kinds of things. On the cost reduction side, target market investments to reduce customer acquisition costs, leveraging RPA to automate sales admin processes, in addition to, on top of that, artificial intelligence, optimizing data extraction and documentation review with the NLP. On the customer experience side, I'll say personalized attention to channel and increasing NPS levels, improving quality of advisory services with real-time contacts and stuff like that, personalized communication and advertising for more relevant and emotional messages, not the robotic kind. Risk mitigation and fraud, leverage new data to identify new fraud patterns, monitor and reduce risk of mis-selling, among other things. So I think there's so much opportunity as we continue to grow with the sciences of this, that the 5 years from now, Anthony, I think the graphic will look a little different.
Very, very interesting. So we've discussed the prevalence of RPA in the insurance industry. And given defined intelligent automation, let's ask now how insurers will make the transition from traditional RPA to intelligent automation. What do they need to get into place to be able to take advantage of the benefits of this approach? I think we'll start with you, Nicole, and your life insurance perspective.
Yeah, I mean, so this is like the think big, start small, right? I think first thing is definitely, and again, going back to that earlier slide that Keith had shown around, do you have the right people in place to actually know where you can start to plug in intelligent automation and to be able to see those projects through. You're also, you're really going to want to focus on an area where you can have early success, particularly if you are struggling with wider buy-in within the organization, right? It's always fantastic if you have senior leader buy-in and it's like we have it all the way up to the top and we're just going to go. That's great. It's not always the case, right? Particularly if you're making a leap from RPA and what you're kind of hearing is, well, we already did this. I don't understand, like, what's the net at the end of the day? Like, what's this really going to get me if I have to go hire a team of data scientists or whatever, right? So there's a bit of proving that business case in some organizations if you don't have that top-down support, and that's where the stay focused, pick a KPI, pick a metric that you can measure and prove that success out as quick as possible. And you'll win hearts and minds that way. So,
yeah, maybe I'll go to Keith. How do you make that pitch? It seems that part of the pitch is saying, look, technology is moving in a certain direction, and I think we've established that intelligent automation differs from RPA in that it starts to put different technologies together, right, on suite in ways that they weren't together before. And so you have to think of a larger technology strategy. So I would think, Keith, that this is part of the pitch that Nicole's referring to. This is part of the pitch you need to make to senior leadership at your company. It's like, look, these are several trends, and this embodies more than one trend, and we're going to need to go in this direction.
Yeah, and generally, and Nicole might be able to attest to this, but in general, the companies that are successful doing this stuff, it's part of the fabric, it's part of the culture, right? It's all part of innovation, right, for the most part, right? And if you don't have it as part of your culture, as part of your leadership, you may have pockets of success, but as a company, you don't move forward successfully until you have that culture in place, right? And that's a big undertaking. We've done a number of, we do a model insurer award every year in 5 different categories within Celent. We do a number of awards, and a couple of the award winners that'll be coming out this year, or the nominees anyway, that'll be coming out this year, they talk about that seismic shift in culture in order to achieve the results they needed. And it is a seismic shift for some companies, right? But it does start with leadership. And it needs to bleed all the way down in order for it to really drive success.
Hey, I won one of those once when I was at MetLife.
Well, let's go over to you, Peter. You know, you can talk on from a technical level, but also a cultural level about how one goes from. Yeah, I mean, RPA is a fairly narrow area of technology. Intelligent automation seems to be a much more strategic combination of technologies for the enterprise.
And it is, and I back up what Keith is saying about that the commitment of management needs to be there in order for it to be successful. And I think that oftentimes there is a learning process that needs to occur and conversations and outreach that need to be done before you even commit to any part of the process, but that those partnerships are out there in order to gain that full commitment. There's always a concern around cost. And that's sort of what I have always heard and continue to hear. But also knowing that there are successful platforms out there that are ready to be plugged into place, that maybe 50% is off the shelf and 50% is customizable to your needs. And how that has been successful for intelligent automation. So definitely it's a thorough review process while remaining agile in an ever-changing technology environment and focus on the essential move from RPA to IA.
So Nicole, suppose you solve that problem. Your company's leadership says, yeah, you know what, well, this is the way the world is going. We definitely need to do it. Okay, once you've made that decision to go ahead, you've got the buy-in from leadership. What kind of friction is a company likely to face as they try to adopt this approach?
In the utopian world,
what are their pain points going to be?
Yeah. So, you know, I think it's going to, depending on how seismic the shift is in terms of culture, it kind of varies, right? I think the first step, you've identified that you have a need, you identify you want to go forward with this, doing a proper kind of build, buy, partner analysis first, right? And this is a challenge. I think a lot of carriers are like, I'm going to do this all in-house myself. You know, I don't need a partner on this. You have to, that first step is really going to be setting yourself up for success by getting honest with yourself about the skills that you need. And, you know, really saying, I actually don't have the skills in-house to do this, right? I know that I need X, Y, and Z. I'm not gonna be able to train somebody up here. There are people, and Peter is just talking about this, there are experts out there, there are expert consulting firms out there, there are expert software companies out there that do this all day long. Let me go out and do that proper partner versus buy. I think that making a snap decision that you can do it all yourself is often sets carriers up for a lot of friction from that point, right? I think that not understanding what can be measured or how to measure things, right? It's really important to be able to measure your success. And I would say waiting for perfection, like these areas of friction. You know, you are never going to get to 100% perfect. And this isn't like an agile waterfall conversation, but, you know, knowing that you have to get to a level of confidence you're comfortable with the project, but it's never going to be like, you cannot wait for perfect or you'll never get anything done, right? So those are big areas where we definitely see friction, and some of that's straight up tactical, some of that's philosophical, or combination of both.
Yeah, well, Keith, I'd like to address this to you. So Nicole is bringing up the issue of partnership. It seems to me that what we've seen over the last couple of decades is this long march to a more horizontalized supply chain for the insurance IT organization, right? And so we're seeing carriers hand things over to partners, right? We have partners making core systems. Now we're having partners manage technology infrastructure. We're developing these functional ecosystems where we rely on partners to provide things, and so it becomes more of a partner management, vendor management task, and an integration task than a coding task or a fundamental IT shop kind of thing, right? Software development kind of thing. So anyway, I mean, would you agree with that? And what would you say about the importance of partnership to advancing in the adoption of intelligent automation?
Fill in the blank, as a service, right? So that's where everything is right now, right? Most of the technology world is transforming into as a service in almost every space, including RPA as a service. So the reliance on third parties to meet the goals of an insurer's agenda is critical in a number of areas. And we at Celent, we do a number of things, including vendor selection for insurance carriers. And with that, we have a lot of carriers that still have plenty, especially on the life side, systems in-house that are unsupported, all that kind of stuff. And they're looking to do something about that. And they'll look to a third-party vendor solution and a third-party systems integrator to help with that, right? To get them to the next level quicker than they could all by themselves. But you do find a little blend of both, especially when it comes into the intelligent automation side of things. A lot of the larger insurers will have a good body of resource, including data scientists, among others, and programmers, Python, whatever the case may be, on staff. But even then, to accelerate the agenda, they may have to lean on third parties to help as well. So I'd say it's a little bit, it's not a balanced blend, but there's certainly a heavy transformation going on in the industry, and third party relationships are critical to the success of that.
Peter, a quick word on partnerships. You're going to have a chance to speak to greet our audience in a moment or two, and I thought maybe one more topic after this, but I wanted to give you a chance to comment on your experience as a partner in the field.
Yeah,
How that works, right? And how you help carriers to be able to adopt what they need to adopt in order to have successful initiatives.
I make sure that it's all about fulfilling and managing expectations. I think that there's so many aspects, getting back to Nicole said, depending upon the scale in which your transformation is going to occur. I'm currently working on an international property casualty company that has 40 offices globally. That client has inducted employees who maintain their full-time job and also do a digital transformation job. And that's just one aspect. And I think that partnering with a key stakeholder and learning, I think it's all about the learning process. And I think this learning process for some carriers might be a lot longer than others, and that's okay. But knowing that employee resources, depending upon, certainly if you jump into a larger scale project, is going to become a factor in how that you're going to handle that. And so those kind of minute details, like Nicole was saying, is really important from the get-go. I have seen and worked for a place that did not know specifically what they wanted and purchased something. And then having to remedy all those problems as they're going under the digital transformation process. And that's not what you want to do. So have those thoughtful conversations and go back and take that information and then come back again for additional conversations before you completely commit. And that's going to lead to a very successful transformation project for any client.
Well, let me address that issue of transformation before we go back to you, Peter. Maybe go to Keith. Where does intelligent automation fit within a larger digital transformation initiative? I mean, these are the things that insurers are doing now, and they're often coordinated with some kind of a legacy system, either replacement, consolidation, wraparound. Where does IA fit within the larger transformation?
Wherever the insurer's needs are. Everybody's on a different stage of their digital journey for the most part. And so everybody's got a slightly different need, and intelligent automation can help pretty much at any spot of that journey. It's just a matter of where the needs are. So From a trend perspective, other than, we've mentioned earlier, a lot of focus on the claims and underwriting side of the business, because those take up the most time. And from a customer experience perspective, those are the kind of the worst points of a customer experience. So, that's where a lot of the focus is. I anticipate it's going to continue to stay there. Way back when, there was a little bit of a shield with underwriters because, hey, this is more of an art than a science. Well, we're proving it's science. So not to offend any underwriters out there, but and that's the way things will continue to evolve. I'm pretty sure.
Quick word from you, Nicole, on how you blend your move into intelligent automation for the life underwriting process with larger life insurance digital transformation initiatives.
I will echo kind of what's been said here, right? You need to understand what you want to achieve and what you want to accomplish. Like, have that goal in mind. Don't just throw something at technology at your process because somebody has told you have to integrate this, right? We talk to carriers and they'll be like, I need to add AI to my process. And you're like, what does that mean? What are you trying to solve for, right? So start with your problem, lay out your user journey, understand the other components of technology that you're going to be working in, what is the ecosystem, and then really have that process, right? Keep that process in mind as you do that integration. And I do love working from a user journey or a user story, right? Both internal and external, the customer experience it creates. I think it helps you really think through where you can integrate this type of technology into your processes.
Very good, thank you. And now I'm going to turn it over to Peter.
Thank you. I would like to thank our moderator, Anthony O'Donnell, the Insurance Innovation Reporter, our panelists, Keith Raymond, Senior Analyst at Celent, Nicole Myers, Senior Vice President at Underwriting Proposition Swiss Re, and my colleagues at Oz, a company that helps people by partnering with industry leaders, creating innovative solutions and real-time results. Anthony, back to you.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's been a great pleasure working with you all today. That's all we have time for. Thank you so much for the audience to showing up today. You'll receive a recording link for today's webcast during the following days, and you'll be able to access it on demand during the coming year. So thank you for attending. Intelligent automation is changing the way insurers do business, broadcast by Insurance Innovation Reporter and sponsored by Oz Digital Consulting. This event is copyright 2021 by Pembury Strategic Services, IR's parent company. The presentations are the intellectual property of the presenters, who are solely responsible for their content and their opinions. On behalf of our speakers, Keith Raymond of Celent, Nicole Myers of Swiss Re, and Peter Albano of Oz Digital Consulting, I'd like to once again thank all of our attendees for their time today. This is Anthony O'Donnell of Insurance Innovation Reporter, wishing you a great day.